Hello everyone and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel. I got something a little bit different for you today, whatever. Who knows when you're watching this, right? This is my new Shappell Jet Sled. I'm going to show you how I'm going to modify it for use as a Pulk sled for backcountry camping in the wintertime. Some of you may have seen my other videos, a few of my other videos where I used a Pulk sled. I took my kids' old flexible flyer sled and modified it. I made a harness for it and strapped my dry bag onto it and towed that back in the woods. It worked all right, but I did have some problems with it, and I decided that I was going to bite the bullet and buy a real sled and do it the right way. So let's start modifying this thing. Before we get started with the hands-on nuts and bolts tool time, talk about what I intend to do here. My inspiration, there's any number of other videos on YouTube that show guys modifying their sleds, what they've done to it, and basically I've drawn my inspiration from those videos. The basic modifications are to add some cargo tie downs and also to add eye bolts for attachment of your harness, your Pulk poles. The Jet Sled, it comes with this cheesy poly rope that you just thread through these two holes on the front of the sled and tie a knot in it here, and it's not really suited for long distance traveling through the woods, up and down hills and whatnot. It may be okay just for pulling across a frozen lake to your ice fishing shanty, but it's not going to do when you're hiking back into the woods. So I've got a solution for that. I've got some official Pulk Harness mounts that I'm going to put on the front here, and you can see right here I've already attached as a test some webbing loops for strapping my load in. Something I should mention too, this is the large Jet Sled. They have a smaller model. This one is 9 inches deep, 25 inches wide, and 54 inches long. So you can haul quite a load back into the woods in this thing. The last time I went winter camping, I had a load on my sled and a load in a backpack, and that was brutal. So I want to tow everything in this time, and this sled with all this volume here should be more than enough capacity to in fact, I'm afraid I'm going to bring too much stuff along, everything but the kitchen sink, as it were. But yeah, this is a nice big sled, and it's sturdy. The material is thick polyethylene. It's like a 1/4 of an inch thick. I mean, you can abuse this thing, I'm sure. It'll last forever. Here's all the hardware and material that I'm going to use in the modification. 2 pieces of 1/2 inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe, 6 foot lengths, 4 1/2 inch PVC pipe caps, not plugs, caps, some eye bolts and nuts. You need 2 5/16 eye bolts, and then these here are smaller 1/4 inch thread eye bolts, and I'll explain why they're different as we go through the construction. This hardware here is a kit that I bought from skipulk.com, and I'll put links in the description for ordering that. But this is a attachment point for your Pulk harness, and it's stamped aluminum with stainless steel fasteners. It's very strong, very heavy duty. It's got spring clip pins. They're so strong. Ah! There, pin pulls out. This is where your Pulk pole fastens. Of course, this will be fastened. This will be fastened to your sled. This is 1 inch wide nylon webbing strap, and I cut it in like I don't know. I think those are 7-inch lengths, and then I fold it over, and I poke a hole through with a hot piece of steel, and make the loop, my cargo attachment loop. Those are attached to the body of the sled itself with pop rivets. So you're going to need, hang on, you're going to need some 3/16 pop rivets. These have a 3/8 inch grip range because you're going to be going through the thick plastic of the sled, plus your nylon webbing, and you want to have some large fender washers for to support the webbing. And of course you'll need a rivet tool, and I've also got some backup washers here for the rivets. You'll need some PVC pipe cement too, because you're going to be fastening these caps with the eye bolts onto the end of the PVC pipe. We'll get down to the nuts and bolts of how it all goes together now. First thing you're going to want to do is decide where to mount your cargo tie loops. And you have two choices. You can mount them on the top rail of the sled, or you can mount them inside, along the inside edge of the sled. I chose to mount them on the inside. No real reason. It's mostly aesthetics. 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And you also need to decide how many of them you want. Now I've sort of gone for overkill, and I've opted for I got them already marked out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tie downs on each side. So that's going to give me lots of flexibility in how I lash cargo into this sled. I took a measurement here and divided it up into equal spaces, marked out, made little X's with a grease pencil where I want to drill my holes. I'm about 1 inch down from the top rail here. Let's get to drilling some holes. And you can see I'm old school. I got a corded drill, no portable battery drills. That's a 3/16 drill right there, because I'm using 3/16 diameter rivets. And there you go, 12 holes. Get comfortable here. Here's how I made my straps. This is 1 inch wide nylon webbing. You could probably buy that at like an Army Navy store. This is about 7 inches long here. And I'm just going to double them over and put a hole in them for the rivet. It's kind of a pain in the butt to drill this nylon because it doesn't drill very well. You know, your drill doesn't really cut it. It just kind of pushes the threads aside. But it is nylon and it melts. So what I did was I made this jig. I chiseled a little flat spot in a piece of scrap wood here, with it, drilled a hole in it. Then I screwed this piece of hardware strapping over it. Hi, Toby. You come to see what's going on, buddy? I think you're going to want to leave because it's going to get hot here in a minute, Toby. Buddy. Say hello. Say hello to the folks. Okay, I had to get rid of the cat because it's going to get a little bit dangerous here for having a cat hanging around. So this is how I put the hole in. I have an old 3/16 drill here that was dull, I don't care about anymore. And I ground a point on the end of it, like a pencil point, cone. And I'm going to heat that. In my propane torch here till it's cherry red. That's good and hot. And just poke that right through there. There's the result. It's fused together now too. Yeah, I didn't have that one cherry red, and it took a little force to put it through there. I'll do one more for you. You get the idea. Now I can go ahead and attach my cargo hold down straps to the body of the sled with my pop rivets. And I'm using these are steel pop rivets. I know aluminum are a little bit easier to use because they pop easier. Steel, this is going to kill my hands popping these. But what I like about these is they have this nice wide flange on the rivet here, which gives it a lot of reinforcement from pulling through the plastic. So this is probably going to get a little fumbly because I'm not all that coordinated sometimes. So I've chosen to rivet from the outside. So this flange is on the outside of the sled, and this part pokes through into the sled. I debated which way to do it. I felt this probably would look a little bit neater with this flange to the outside. So go ahead and install the rivet into the tool. Bring that through the hole. Slide the strap over it. My fender washer, and then a little backup washer gives it just that little bit much more reinforcement, and it takes up, and I'm probably shouting right into this mic. It gives it a little bit more reinforcement, and it takes up some of the thickness here from the rivet because the rivet's just a little bit too long. So here goes. Mighty test of my hand strength. Oh! It's taken everything I got. 2 hands. Yeah, this is the fumbly part. There we go. All right, it's done. Good and tight. So the fender washer, when you're say you got a lot of cargo tall in here, your straps are going to be like this. But if you don't have a lot of cargo in, your strap's going to be like that. So the fender washer gives you some support there on the strap. Well, that's going to do it for me tonight. It's about 8:30, going on 9 o'clock, and I'm pooped. So I'm going to go up and get ready for bed. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow night right where we left off, okay? See you then. Hey everyone, I'm back. And it's been, instead of a night, it's been a week. You know, sometimes life and lack of ambition get in the way. While you've been gone, I did get all the cargo tie loops attached. And let me tell you, that was a chore. If I were to do this again, I would seriously consider my decision to put 6 loops on a side. It was really tough with that rivet gun popping 6 of those steel rivets on every side of this sled. It killed my arthritic old hands. Anyway, I've had a week to recover, and everything's good now. So the next step in the process here is going to be the attachment of the Pulk pole brackets, and you see I've already got one installed here. So let's walk through the installation of the second one over on this side. All right, so as you can see, there's 4 holes there, and the bracket only has 2 holes in it. So there's already been a little bit of trial and error and learning by mistake on the positioning of these mounting brackets. Like a fool, I started working from the top side of the sled on this side, laying it out, not realizing that this angle, or this backup plate, was going to hit the corner of the sled here. So I had to reposition the thing from the bottom like I should have done. I should have done a dry fit first. Live and learn. I think the kit with 2 brackets was right around $25, which I consider a fair price for this. Anyway, so you have this nice bracket from 3/16, or no, that's 1/8 bent aluminum, and a backing plate. The backing plate goes underneath the lip of the sled, and the bracket goes on the top. The backing plate is to reinforce the plastic, this area of the sled where all the pull is going to be. It's potentially a weak spot on some sleds that may be made with thinner plastic, but this is very thick, durable, 3/16 thick polyethylene. I'm not really concerned about any weakness in the material here. So let's get on with the installation. It's really nothing to it, just laying out where you want the bracket to be, marking the holes and drilling them, and I've already done that. I'll fasten this one in place, then we'll get on to a discussion of the Pulk poles themselves. Alright, I have my Pulk poles attached here to the harness with the spring clips, and then I have them fastened together here with some heavy-duty hook and loop fastener. This, I don't even know if you could get this stuff anymore. It's called Shappell, and it's super heavy duty. It's so strong. It has such a strong grip. I'm trying with all my might to pull that apart right now. I actually need a pliers to pull that, to separate that. That's how strong that stuff is. You could use whatever you had. You could tie some paracord around there, and I have another use for this too, which you'll see in a little while. Let's talk about the Pulk poles now. I've already got one completed, and you can see I've got a eye bolt fastened to the end of it. So at this end is a 1/4 inch threaded eye bolt in a cap, and at the other end I've got a 5/16 eye bolt. So you want to drill a hole in the end of your PVC pipe caps, and you want to get a backup nut threaded onto the shaft of the eye bolt, and then a couple washers. This one you can see I kind of dished to match the curvature of the top of this pipe cap. So that's going to go on there like that. Then I have a lock washer. It's going to go on there. And finally the bolt's going to go through. Put the lock washer on. The flat washer that's been domed out. And that goes in there. Eye bolt sticking through. And then we have a nylon locking nut, and it's really important that you use this nylon locking nut, because once you put this cap on the end of the pull, you're not going to have access to that nut any longer. So once you tighten it down, you do not want it to come loose. You could also use a standard nut with some thread locking fluid on it. All right, I've got it all put together now, and you can see I only left a couple, like one thread exposed outside of that nylon locking nut, and then on the other side, this lock washer here, that's pushing against this nut. So you tighten the two of them together, it pushes against this nut, and it keeps this nut from coming loose too. So then you won't get this nut or this eye bolt moving back and forth inside your pipe cap here. All right, the next step is going to be to glue this onto the end of the PVC pipe. Yep, what a mess. When you put it on there, you want to push it and give it a twist and then hold it, because you've just compressed the air inside that pipe and it wants to push back, actually, just like a piston in a cylinder. So you want to hold that there for 60 seconds or so while that glue sets up and the joint hardens. There, good. So my Pulk poles are complete now. I've got my eye bolts and mounted on each end. Small ones at the end that connects to the sled, and the larger ones at the end that connects to the belt. And there's a reason for that. So the major problem I had with my old Pulk design was the harness, the whole design of the harness and the belt. And originally I started out, I bought basically a carpenter's tool belt, and then I put some grommets in it, and then fastened some of these connectors through the grommet, and then I attached the Pulk pole with a carabiner through this loop, and I got a lot of back and forth action like that as you go up a hill and then down, and the sled moves back and forth behind you. I didn't like that at all. And with the belt, it was always pulling down at my waist. It always ended up down around my hips. No matter how much I tightened it, it didn't stay put. The second time I went out with my Pulk, I actually fastened it to the hip belt of my backpack, and although that did keep the connection from pulling down, it was so awkward I couldn't reach it to unclip, and I actually had to take my whole pack off to get out of the harness, which safety-wise probably isn't a very good thing. Like if you should fall and be in an awkward position, or God forbid crossing ice and fall through the ice, you're going to be screwed if you can't get out of this thing in a hurry. So there's an instruction sheet that came with the brackets from Ski Pulk, and I'm actually copying their design for attachment to a Pulk harness. So this is the solution that I learned from the instructions that came with my Pulk brackets. At your waist is a loop that passes through the eye, your eye bolt, and then you just simply put a carabiner through that, like that, and now you're hooked in. It won't come loose while you're walking, but if you need to get out in a hurry, just like that, and you're free. Here's a solution I came up with for my my harness problems. As I mentioned, I was using a carpenter's tool belt that really didn't work good at all, and then the second time out I used the hip belt on my backpack, and neither of those were really good solutions. So I figured there's got to be a better way to do this, and what I really need is something that's got suspenders, that's like a vest I can put on, take off. I figured there's got to be something at the Army Navy store. Anyway, I went to my Joe's Army Navy, and sure enough, I found this vest, and it's absolutely perfect for this application. I'll put it on here. This goes over your shoulders. It's got two clips here in front, and it has these panels on both sides with molly webbing. This would be for the soldier to attach like ammo pouches or first aid kits or whatever. This is actually a cargo vest for a soldier. It's also got another really sweet feature. It has map pockets right here. You can stash like an energy bar or something in there. But the thing that really sold me was this molly webbing here, as that's going to be ideal for attaching the Pulk poles. So I'll show you how I did that. This is the waist belt of the cargo vest, and you can see all the molly webbing that's on here. But these are really tight. There's not much slack in them. Now, I could have done this. Could have gone through with a carabiner and caught the eye bolt like that. That's okay, but it gives you this. You end up with this situation, and that's one thing I really didn't care at all about my last Pulk pole, is this constant back and forth business here. So I showed you before how Ski Pulk recommends that you attach, and I said, well, how can I do that with this belt with this molly webbing on it, because I can't get that webbing up through this eye. There's just not enough slack there. And then it dawned on me, I remembered this hook and loop fastener stuff that I had laying around, and so I cut a length and passed it through two of the molly webs and fastened it. The actual fastening is underneath here, so it's held tight, less chance of it coming apart. So here's my loop, pass through the eye bolt, clip the carabiner. I still got a little of that action, but I can tighten that loop up a little bit more and eliminate some of that. And plus, this is easy, quick out, quick release. So that's my solution, and not field tested yet. Gonna get out this weekend, I think, do a winter camp video to come, hopefully. There it is. Yeah, I can tighten that up some. One concern I did have with this cargo belt is that it seems to be made for a soldier of smaller stature. When I was at the Army-Navy store, they didn't have a very big selection, and they either had ones that were just huge, you know, like for the Hulk, or for mini soldiers. And I think this is one for the mini soldiers, because it rides kind of high. I don't know, maybe that's by design. I don't know how the soldiers' actual battle gear all goes together, but this may be by design. But I wasn't too wild with where this belt sat. I might like it a little bit lower, like down here. Now I left the straps out here all the way as far as I could. There's plenty of adjustment for waist size, because actually you figure in the wintertime you're going to be wearing this over your jacket, so you're going to want a little bit more, you know, room through the waist here, and it's fully adjustable in that respect. One other thing I should mention, this wasn't very expensive at all. I don't think I paid more than like $15 for it. If you were to go, I don't know what Ski Pulk gets for theirs, but I'm sure it's probably double or triple that amount. So go online, check eBay, check your favorite military surplus seller online, Amazon, wherever. I'm sure you can come up with one of these vests someplace, and I think it's going to work awesome. I can't wait to get out and try it. So that's it. There's my Ski Pulk modifications to a Shappell Jet Sled. I hope you enjoyed the video. My purpose with this video is not to tell you how to make your sled, only to show you how I made mine. I've seen many videos on YouTube, and even some after I came up with my design in my head, I went back and watched a bunch more, and I found a whole bunch of new ideas. And by that time I'd already committed to this design. I'd already installed all these loops. Hey, I can always do it over, I guess. If I like a sled with a lot of holes in it, I can change my design. But I think this is going to work well for me. I'll be lucky. I'm 65 years old. I'll be lucky if I can keep doing this for another 10 years. I'll be lucky if I get out and make 2 expeditions a winter. So 2 times 10, that's 20. 20 expeditions with this sled behind me, hopefully. I don't think I'll ever wear it out. This is a really tough sled, and it's made for pulling behind snowmobiles and ATVs. Like I said at the beginning, I think I'm gonna overload this thing, at least in terms of what I can pull. It's so spacious and so heavy duty. I'm gonna want to take everything but the kitchen sink. Anyway, again, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd sure love to hear your comments and suggestions. Tell me I'm stupid, or tell me I did a good job. I'll listen to you and respond. All right, so next time you see me, I'll be out in the woods with this sled. Until then, bye.